Okay. Okay. I will call the August 3rd Board of Public Works meeting to order, and I will start with roll call. First off, Mayor Kim Smith is excused. Jim Olson.
Here.
Jared Holder. Here. Sabrina Stager is not present at the time. She may show later. And then I am Stephen Knott, and I am present. But we do have three, so we have a quorum. I also want to point out that both Carrie Burmaster and Diane Wolf are present today. I will consider an action on minutes from the previous meeting.
Second.
We have a motion from Jared and a second from Jim. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. At this time, we are now open for public input. Public input is limited to 3 minutes per individual. If you would like to provide public input, please provide your name and your address. Is there anyone here who would like to provide public input? Second call for public input. Do you see anyone online? Third and final call for public input. Public input is closed. Next item on the agenda is number 4, amendment number 1 of professional engineering services for well number 9 post-chlorination project with Strand Associates, Inc. Jared.
Thank you. In your packet tonight, we do have a proposal from Strand Associates for the well number 9 post-chlorination project. This is actually a amendment to that task order. Gets confusing with this project at the well, but Strand was hired as our engineer for the post-chlorine project. So after the filter plant, we have run piping and added chlorine equipment to add chlorine after the process of removing the iron and manganese from the raw water. During this time, we've also been having treatment process in the well that we need to get more chlorine into the treatment process. And with that, we had looked and actually had SEH approved for some work to look at pre-chlorination. Once we started that work and went through that, we started looking at the existing pre-chlorination equipment that was installed with the original well house, and found that we could change out that equipment and achieve the same goal with less actual equipment to be purchased and to be a cleaner product. Because of that, we actually went back to Strand Associates, who had originally designed the well, and asked them if they would assist us with this work. And that is the amendment that you see today, to go from 16,300 to 26,300. This would be part of our budgeted operating budget within the water utility. One thing to note is we have expended 9,100 of the approved 17,300 for SEH. I would envision that we would save part of those funds that were approved already. So in reality, we're just reallocating part of this to Strand Associates. This will actually help us with our process at the well, and we think we're over the hump to get to the point where we can start using that well a lot more efficiently. So staff is requesting approval of the task amendment.
I'll entertain a motion to approve, or I'll entertain a motion for the amendment.
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, motion to approve by Jim and seconded by Jared. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 5, amendment number 1 of general engineering services with Strand Associates, Inc. Again, Jared.
Thank you. As is outlined in your staff report tonight, over the course of the first half of the year, we have used additional engineering services by Strand Associates. This amendment would allow for a further continuation of those services. So I had Strand Associates compile a letter that is included in your materials tonight that outlines items A through H. And that is where we have expended the first $10,000 that was approved in the original general engineering task order. These are typically smaller items. They're at 500, 1,000, a few $1,000s at a time. So instead of bringing in task orders for each one of these, and as they come up, we take care of them. What we wanted to show you tonight with the letters A through H in your packet in the letter from Strand is how we've actually expended the first $10,000. And we're requesting till this task order be raised to 20,000. With that, there's also items A and B, which will be accomplished as part of the 10,000 increase, but this will not be the total of 10,000 with those two items. There will be other projects and items that will come up as we continue through the year. This would be covered within the water utility operating budget under consulting services. So we are requesting approval of this amendment to continue with these smaller projects within the water utility.
And I'll entertain a motion at this time on item number 5.
I'll make a motion to approve amendment number 1 to general engineering services with Strand Associates.
I'll second that motion.
So motion made to approve by Jared and seconded by Jim. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 6, equipment purchases for 2021 Fire Department pickup truck.
I'm actually going to take that one, Your Honor.
I'm sorry?
I'm going to take that one too.
That's
Your
fine.
Honor. Last month, we approved purchases for the loose equipment for the F-250 that was purchased through the capital improvements budget by the fire department. If you look on your packet tonight on page 8, you'll see a loose equipment memo from the fire chief, Troy Goody. With that, they are requesting tonight the approval of the emergency lighting and electronics in the amount of $19,986. The lettering for the vehicle at $1,739, and the graphics for the vehicle at $1,165. This would be at a total cost of $22,890. This still does keep them within their budgeted amount that they had with the purchase of this vehicle and including the sale of their old engine 3. They still will be under budget for what they will have expended. So the fire chief is requesting approval of these purchases.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion made by Jim Olson, seconded by Jared Holder to approve. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. On to agenda item number 7, discussion on methodology of sewer charges, including usage of winter quarter consumption during other periods. Jared.
Thank you. This has come up with the recent quarterly utility bill that was sent out. With that bill, the consumption for that period was taken between March 7th of 2021 and June 7th of 2021. So that is what we consider the second quarter or the spring quarter in our billing process. Back in 2018, going through the budgetary process of the utilities, including the sanitary sewer utility, our finance director brought forward that the sewer utility needed more revenue to come in to ensure that we had proper operating revenues. A variety of options were brought forward, including a percentage raise to the rates. They also looked at other methodologies for charges on consumption. As part of that, what was used at that time was whatever consumption you would use during the winter quarter. Obviously, you're not doing any water sprinkling, car washing, any outdoor activities during that time, was used as your sewer consumption for all 4 quarters. During that time, there was a debate and went over changing that methodology. As such, the council voted on and approved changing the methodology that the actual consumption would be used for the second quarter, which is the spring quarter. We continue to use the winter average or the winter usage for the summer and fall, or our third and fourth quarters. So your utility bill that you'll be receiving this next quarter, even if you sprinkled your lawn a lot, will still use your winter average. This was instituted in 2019. So in 2019 and 2020, we experienced not unusually, but very modestly wet springs. So we did not have the lawn sprinkling that you've seen this spring. This spring was almost drought conditions during the spring, the months of April and May. So there's a lot of lawn sprinkling. A lot of people got their sprinkler systems started early, ran them more often, ran them longer. With that, as was shown at the last council meeting, we had one individual come in during public input and refer to his bill at that time. I have received a letter from another individual during this time that was requesting that their bill also be altered. And our utility staff, in discussions with our utility staff that answer questions regarding the utility bills, they said they received approximately 100 phone calls this quarter, but not all of them were within this area, but a lot of them were. So if we assume that we did not keep a specific count, but if you assume, say, half of them were asking about this, that's probably 50 individuals that were asking. The sewer budget was approved with this revenue, so I do not believe we can go back and issue a credit because that revenue is budgeted into our calculations for needed revenues of the utility. What we could do is look at different methodologies or options if you would so choose as part of the budget process that will be during the September utilities meeting. We will go over the sewer utility, the water utility, and the stormwater utility, all those budgets at that time. In using the 2018 numbers for the 2019 budget, going back over the minutes, the finance director at that time stated that we would need to increase revenues approximately $57,000. The changing of the methodology brought in approximately $95,000 worth of projected revenue. I have not tracked that to do any calculations with staff to see if that is actually what we're bringing in. We could do that also. But it would, if we change the methodology back to the winter average in all four quarters, we would have to, in order to keep our current revenues, to keep our current operations, we would have to either increase the transmission fee or increase our flat fee. One of those two would have to make up for that difference. I do not, when I've talked to individuals regarding this, I state, it is a policy decision on how we would like to charge. Either way, we do need this revenue to keep the sewer utility going. I did go through and do some comparisons of where we were at with the rates. The sewer treatment, the transmission rate, which is what we need, that's what we charge for our city services, not the treatment in La Crosse, but for city services. And so this is per 100 cubic feet, which is what we bill in on your utility bill. In 2017, we charged $1.33 per 100 cubic feet. In 2018, we charged $1.40. In 2019, we charged $1.40, so it did not change because we changed the methodology. In 2019, we charged $1.90, and 2021, we went to $2.40. And as part of that, the auditor had come in and given us information on where the sewer utility should be and why those rates should be adjusted. If you remember, when the auditor comes in March or April with their auditing statement, if you look at the sanitary sewer utility, it's been operating in the negative for the last few years. And that is the reason for those two rate increases in 20 and 21. So Just looking for some direction if we want to try to bring something forward, if we're fine with our methodology that we have now. Just looking for input. We don't need to make a decision tonight. I think this would be something if you wanted to pursue, we'd move forward through the budgetary process.
Thank you, Jared. I'll open it up for discussion and questions.
Do you think it should be raised from 240 to,
If you change the methodology, I would have to get the exact number, but we will have a budget revenue hole that we will have to make up with either raising the 240 or our flat rate, which I believe, I'm working off memory here, but I think it's 675 a quarter. So you'd have to raise the flat rate, that chart that everyone pays, or raise the usage rate. And just to alert, obviously coming through the budgetary process, that La Crosse treatment charges will be going up because of the treatment plant expansion. So it will be going, the sewer charges will be going up with that.
So first off, I guess, in full disclosure, I guess removing any doubt that I'm a really boring guy, I actually follow the drought monitor on almost a weekly basis and have for years just because I'm interested in it. And I certainly can state in support of what Jared had said earlier, that our area of the state of Wisconsin had been under abnormally dry, moderate drought, or severe drought for a very good portion of the mid to late spring and early summer. And in fact, today, we're still listed on the U.S. Drought Monitor as moderate drought. So it has been a drier summer than in some of and spring, and then in some of the previous years, which really reflects the difficulty that the staff has, because they have to do a combination of best guess fortune telling based on past realities to try to determine what is the most fair cost that we can pass on that will still allow the city to pay for its own utility costs. So with that said, I do think that we need to take a relook probably on an annual basis. This is a fight that will go on, forever. To take a look at methodologies, how are they actually reflecting the realities of actual usage versus our actual costs? Yeah, I think that we do need to include that in the budget process again. And I would argue probably that has to be an annual process.
Part of just going back to the 2018 data that was used in our decision-making process, not all of the revenue comes from just residential sprinkling. There's a third of the revenue that comes from commercial, and it's probably things we're picking up because the hotels are busier, there's more people in a restaurant. Winters usually are slower time with occupancy rates and different things. So we are picking up revenues, not just from lawn sprinkling by doing this. So it's not that we're just targeting people that are watering their lawn.
Thank you for clarifying that. Yeah, I got it, but it's good to have that on the record. Are there any other questions or discussion points that anyone would like to bring up?
so your recommendation is what, Jared, to take a look at this? And
If you feel we should look at this, we would bring forward some option looking at revenues with the auditor to ensure that we're healthy yet, but and then you can make a decision during the budget process. You could leave it as is, or we give you an option of changing some other methodology.
simple?
This is-
Need a motion?
No, this is just for discussion right now. I am going to reach out to the floor. Is there anything that Carrie or Diane, since you're here and present, that you would like to bring up? Diane?
For asking. Diane Wolf, 910 Orchid Place. Jared, so maybe approximately 50 households had a concern, or were they, so I guess I have two questions. Were they larger consumers?
I don't have data other than the one consumer that I had contact with, and that person was a larger consumer, had a sprinkler system, but I do not have actual specific data on the other callers that came in. It was just asking staff, just kind of how many people called in this quarter, what's the general feeling of people calling in and things like that. And they did say that there was people calling in to voice concerns. They more so wanted to know, how it got to that point or whatever.
And secondly, how many households do we provide service to?
There's about 6,500 connections, residential connections.
I'm just kind of looking at,
Yeah, it's still a low percentage when you say that we it isn't like 25% of our people are calling in.
and I guess my only concern would be, it's kind of like with property maintenance. When we have a small number of offenders, but they seem to cause a lot of problems for the neighbors with property maintenance, not mowing their grass and their habitual ones. And when electeds are pressured to adjust the ordinances to try to capture those people, but if we adjust those ordinances to be more penal towards those people, then we could affect an untold number of people on the other side who are currently within compliance if we become too strict. So that would be my only caution is fairness across the board. So I don't think there's really a perfect system, but I'd certainly look forward to whatever you guys decide what we do in the fall then.
And all of the elected officials, of course, will have say if they bring forward a methodology relooks in front of the Common Council. But yeah, thank you, Diane. Carrie?
Hi, it's Carrie Burmaster. I just wanted to say that the people that I did talk to about the issues, some were because of excessive sprinkling or sprinkling because of the conditions. Some of the other people were filling pools. And the common complaint that I got was that we were charging the water consumption, but they weren't using the sewer. And I know that Jared went into an explanation of that with me, and maybe that would be beneficial to everyone too, because I think it's a pretty common practice, not just in our community, but I think statewide, of how we do that assessment of the charges. Thank you.
And, yep, I'd have to look into the pool. I do not know what other communities do with filling pools. We do allow, the crux of the matter is that you can rent a hydrant meter to fill your pool, but there's a backflow connection device to make sure we don't contaminate our water system. So we charge for the inspection and service of that device. By the time we pay for the hydrant rental and you pay for the water, it's just as cheap to fill it out of your hose. So what you're saving in sewer charges on your residential bill, if you use a hydrant meter, you're paying for it again. It's a wash. I actually did look at one individual that was sprinkling, and through their process, they asked about a sprinkler meter, which we do offer. You can plumb in a second meter for irrigation. By the time you pay your flat charges on your meter, and the water charges set by the Public Service Commission are actually higher on an irrigation meter than your residential usage meter. It was this individual, it almost consumed all of the sewer charges. So they weren't going to save anything by having a irrigation meter.
And just to comment on just the water side, again, I'm still a fairly new resident here. My wife and I moved here after I retired in 2016. And we came in May of 16, and throughout the rest of 2016, all of 2017, all of 2018, I never once had to water my yard. However, in 2019, actually 2019, I didn't either. 2020 and 2021, the last 2 years, I absolutely have, and I've had to water it, fairly frequently on and off. So I just, a reality check, if I were to look at water bills of over my last 2 years and compare them to the first 3 or 4 years, it could lead me to a skewed conclusion. Very clearly, I know I was not watering my yard the first 3.5 years I was here. So it would be totally reasonable for me to assume those first 3.5 years would be cheaper billing, which of course they were. So, it's, we have to look at the realities of our actual usage as well as the methodologies that the city is using. It's both. So, but I do think it's wise that every single year we take a look and see if we're on track, because reality changes. So I do support that. And yeah. Any other discussion or questions? Okay, let's move on. So next is item number 8, engineering services for construction staking on the 2021 utility project. Back to Jared again.
In your packet tonight, we have a proposal from Short Elliott Hendrickson, the amount of $9,900.08 for construction staking in the 2021 utility project. With the projects coming together and the different items going on, trying to carve out time in Kevin's schedule, and he's been trying to pick up things for me, trying to get budgeting done and things like that. We'd like to hire SCH to do the actual curb and gutter construction staking for the costs shown. We do have funds budgeted within the capital improvements budget for these projects that would cover those expenses. And we have done this on other projects previously.
Well, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion for approval of engineering services for construction staking on 2021 utility project.
I'll second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 9, pay estimates. I do want to point out that there was an update that included an item number 12 and 13 that was provided to us this evening. The totals of those amount to approximately $1,000 additional in the monthly estimates. Again, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
I'll second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 10 is adjournment.
So moved.
Motion to adjourn.
All right, well, I've got a motion from Jared. I'll assume that's a second from you, Jim. All right, we have a motion from Jared and a second from Jim to adjourn. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. The time is 6:57.
Thank you all.
Thank you.